Week 11, we know that because this week's pattern is B11, and that's Heather, and Heather's just sitting, gosh, I never get it right, that way. Heather is sitting that way. I'll bring it up to camera in a minute and then you can see exactly what Heather looks like. But yes, so today we're going to do a lovely little project. It's good to do something slightly different, something that perhaps you weren't expecting, that sort of thing. And yeah, I'm really pleased with how it turned out. And of course, using my favourite hexagons. I do love a hexagon. And if anybody has made my Lexi pattern, then we use hexagons in that. And I'll show you my version of Lexi in a minute, which is actually probably one of my favourite makes ever. I've got a couple actually. I've got one that I use all the time, but there's another one lurking around somewhere. Yeah, and they're just very I don't know, creative to use. There's so many different ways you can use a hexagon, would you believe? And it's just nice to have it as a decoration just there. We're going to use the same sort, well, I'm going to use the same sort of fabrics tonight because I love them. And I'm looking forward very much to having these hanging in my wardrobe, making my wardrobe look even more pretty. Well, you know, as pretty as you could ever possibly get. So hello to everybody. Lots of people joining us now. We've got Wendy and Marilyn. We've got Bridget and Rachel. Melba, I'm going to the Norfolk Textile Show on the Sunday with my sister. So if you're going on the Sunday, Melba, please tap me on the shoulder and I shall say hello. So we've got Jill and Elaine, we've got Jane, we've got Jackie, we've got Kath, Patsy, Jill. Gosh, lots of people already, over 100 already. Wow. We should be live on YouTube as well, so hopefully our YouTube pals will be joining us too, which will be lovely. And it's always great to do this on a Monday because it's quite a relaxed hour, isn't it? We do a nice little project that doesn't take too long, that you can all sit and watch and enjoy just the chit chat, and don't forget to say hello to people in the feed, you know, when they do the comments. Don't be afraid to say hello. Say hello to the person above you, say hello to the person below you. That's assuming you said hello to me. And you never know, you might make a friend for life. Lots of people have made friends, certainly on my members group, in our members Facebook group. There's been lots of friendships made, and it's really lovely that you know, that happens. And yeah, it's just absolutely super. It's kind of like a bonus, really, isn't it? Oh, Abigail says hello people in the feed. She takes it literally, of course, being the kid that she is. No, my kid, not your kid. Yeah. So I see her obviously very, very differently to you. So never mind. Let's move on quick before I get into trouble. So yes, we're going to make Lexi. We're going to make Heather. I'm going to bring Heather up so you can see what she looks like. Just hold on a second, I'll put you on the overhead. I've got a very interesting desk in front of me this evening, but hopefully it'll be livened up now with our beautiful Heather. Isn't that gorgeous? Now in the pattern you will see that I've done some really fancy stitching around my hexagons. Now they're not stuck on, but you could, because obviously that keeps them quite stable when you're stitching. I literally pinned mine on and then stitched. We'll do that as obviously as we go along. But I did choose a really lovely decorative stitch, which I won't do tonight because it does take a long time. I'll just be doing, you know, just a regular straight stitch, which brings me nicely onto Lexi. So this is Lexi. It's one, you can see it's one of my favourite things. It's got a pencil, and I keep my templates in there. So all my templates that I've produced, quite a few autumn leaves, and my Santa Gnome templates. I think I've got another one in here. Yep. So I keep those in there. The new ones, the new templates, have got their own bag. So they'll go in their own bag, but the others, they all sit in there. And so tonight I'll be stitching like that. Okay, I want you to know the difference between the two. So I'm just going to be stitching around. And to be honest, we're stitching 7 hexagons. It does take a little while, But look how, if you wanted to, you could fussy cut. I didn't need to with this because this is just shirting material. If I bring it closer up to you, you'll be able to see perhaps in close up, let me just hold it nicely, you'll be able to see the stitching, okay? Now, like I said, if you wanted to, you could stick these down with Bondaweb. There's no reason why not. And I can show you how to do that. You don't need to do the whole hexagon. That would be a little bit overkill, but I mean, quilter's tape would be enough, or a little dab of you know, the glue that we use for English paper piecing, all that sort of thing. So gosh, there's various different options. The other thing you could do, and I meant to get the sample to show you, Abigail did it last night on her live, and that's what I call a hexagon bolt, where you make two hexagons, one bigger than the other, and you fold it over and make what I call a hexagon bolt. And you could do that. And I tell you, the good example of that is my pattern called Amber, which is again, one of my all-time favourite patterns. I think it's the fabric I use because this is like a vintage linen, and Amber is made out of a more modern linen, and that you can't beat it. With this, I'm using Egyptian cotton. Now, if you visit us I know it's a long way off, but if you visit us in September on our stand at the Doxford Quilt Show, I'm going to be selling the rolls of Egyptian cotton. So if you want more, then you know where to come, but obviously it's a long way off yet, so just to let you know. And then obviously we've got a lovely super duper trim along the bottom, which is so pretty, so pretty. And it's one of the vintage trims that our Jackie Thomas got for me on her rummaging that she does. She's got a very good eye for rummaging. And yeah, so she sourced that for me. I've got loads of it. So, and actually it's cut to exactly the right size, which is quite convenient. And it's stitched on twice. Oh, that's not a very good example of stitching. It's stitched on twice. So, because it's quite wide, and when we get to that, you'll see what I mean by that. So if you have got the pattern, or you're going to download the pattern, this is what it looks like. So you get a really good eyeball, if you like, of what it's going to look like. Really good photography in there, lots of lovely pictures of what you need to do. It's a hand-drawn pattern, so you don't need any skills, you just need to have a steady hand, I suppose. So I'm going to pop Heather back there so she can keep an eye on us. So tonight, obviously I've got my fabric ready, and what I want you to do before we even start really is to fold your pieces in half. So I've got two pieces here, two long pieces. I'll do it so you can just about see. And so they're two the same, and all I'm saying to you is fold it in half and give that a nice finger press. Not too hard, depending on your fabric. With the Egyptian cotton, it does take a nice crease, so I'm very happy to use that because it's very user friendly. And I've also I've done a lot of my work already, because making the hexagons can take a bit of time. And I haven't glued these, I've just pressed them. So there's kind of just about thereabouts ready to go. They're not ideal, but they're good to go. Now, if you want to use the glue, which is somewhere on my desk, here we go. If you want to use the glue, it's Soline glue. It's blue, but trust me, it doesn't stain your fabric or anything like that. In fact, it goes almost invisible, and it doesn't stay tacky for very long. So you want to be quite quick with it. If you do stick these down and then press them, because I really want you to press these so they're really crispy like that, really crispy. I mean, that is gorgeous. And depending on your fabric will depend on how gorgeous your crispy edges will be. And then, yes, I say press them, put the heat to it. You'll find it quite tricky to take them off, but they will come off. And what you need to do is give them, once you've taken the papers out, I mean, if you don't want to take the papers out, you don't need to, then you will need to repress them again. Okay, so it's a little bit of pressing. Oh, Mary's on YouTube. Oh, I don't know, Mary. Who knows what the idiosyncrasies of Facebook are? You know, we just have to plug in and hope for the best. Yeah, so like I say, they're not as crispy as I would like, but to take all the papers out having been glued can take a little while. It's quite fiddly. I would like to think that you will, but I just wanted to save myself just a wee bit of time. But I have got one to show you, so we'll do that. In fact, I'll use the glue because that's probably the best option. So I'll just move those out of the way and bring my little mat in, and I'll switch my iron on so I'm ready. And I have to say, it does make a difference using the glue. It really does. Now, if you've got an add a quarter ruler, which I shall just get, if you've got one of these, which is the add a quarter ruler, this is obviously the quarter bit, has a lip. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. It's a very, very good way of cutting your fabric. In fact, let me bring my beautiful pink mat in. You can see I'm matless tonight. I need to paint my desk and I'm trying to get myself sorted for it. Now, the other thing I meant to say was, you'll wonder why the paper isn't falling off. Because I put a little dab of this glue behind the paper so it stays still, okay? It's not going to move. Well, it'll just peel off very easily, but it's really nice to hold it there and hold it still. It makes such a difference. If you haven't got an add a quarter ruler, gosh, don't worry. It's just quite nice because you get that absolute perfection. Even with hand cutting, you don't get such a great cut. Trust me. And it doesn't take a minute. Somewhere in the depths of my workroom, I do have a 6-inch one of these, which is probably far better. And you'll see I'm being frugal because I'm not bothered about those bits, but I actually want to keep that bit. I'll show you my bag of bits in a minute. If you're interested in bags of bits like this, go to Kim Porter. She's on Instagram. She's not really on Facebook. She sells her stuff on Instagram. Kim Porter, Worn and Wash Fabrics. I think she trades under Worn and Wash. I'm not sure. She got hacked, so she had to change her name, but I think she still trades as Worn and Wash. Yeah, so this is one of her bags of scraps, and it's sheeting, it's little lovely ditzy print dressmaking fabrics, perhaps big pieces of tablecloth maybe, but you can see, look, there's a button there, so it's all kind of shirting, but it's just lovely old fabrics. So although that's what it says there, Kim Porter Fabrics, just search on Instagram for her because I know she changed her name slightly. Yeah, so, and they're not expensive. That was £8.50, so, and that'll last me almost a lifetime when I'm doing things like this. So we've cut our little hexagon fabric out on a little bit of sort of denim-y fabric. It's more chambray really, and there's various ways of doing it. You can either put the glue on the fabric like this and then turn it over, and you do not need a lot. Or you can put the glue on the paper. Okay, it matters not, as long as you get it done. The other thing is you could go in a anti-clockwise, or if you're left-handed, perhaps a clockwise direction, and fold each one like that. You know, you're going round in a clock. I like to do every other one. So this time we'll go on the paper. Like I say, it matters not. That everybody has a different way of doing these things, and none of these things are the right way or the wrong way. It's the way you do it, okay? And I know, like Jenny Jackson always, who's renowned for her English paper piecing, etc., she always goes round each one and does them in turn, whereas I like to do it like this. So no right or wrong. Anyway, I've done opposite sides, and then I can go in and just take the rest over, and this time I'll put a little bit of glue on the fabric here and here just to make sure, and I put my fingernail in there just to get that first crease, get that stuck down and bring that over. And if you're using some really nice cotton fabric, you are sort of finger pressing that down anyway, so a little bit of glue right across, You can put it on the actual fabric, you know, this overhang fabric if you want to. I'm not going to tell you what to do, just suggest what options you have, let's say. So just one more to do. So they're dead easy, but to do all 7 now would be so time consuming. The whole hour would be taken up with just me, which was making my hexagons. So we've done the last one, which is lovely. It looks a little lonely there, doesn't it? And we need to press it. Now, really, 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 I want you to press it. The difference between how that looked a minute ago to now is absolutely sensational. That is as crisp can be. Look at that. If I bring that up, you can see there's no folds there at all, but it's just absolutely super. The ones that I've done really quickly, I could go over these again, just to make sure those creases are being told what to do, basically. That's up to you. I don't want to spend too much time on it. Like I said, I didn't glue them because I didn't want to spend my time fiddling getting them out of the papers, because you'll see in a minute when I come to take this out how fiddly it can be. And obviously that depends on how much glue you use. Obviously I'm also pressing like crazy, so these creases are really snugly against the paper and really firmly, you know, kind of pressed down. But like I say, whatever you want to do is fine by me. And don't worry, you know, if you want to ask a question about anything to do with things like this, please ask. If I can't see your question or I don't answer it later tonight or whatever, then somebody else in the feed will always answer for you. Somebody will always have an idea. So with regard to this, now it's cooled down, you'll find it's even worse to get out, and you really need to sort of tug at it to get it out. And you'll think, oh, I've just pressed that beautifully and now I've got to rip it. If you want to save your papers, then you're going to be careful, but I'm not precious, so, you know, especially if I'm only making this one lot of hexagons. So I will pull it apart, and if it tears, it tears. So you end up, you know, with a right old mess. But you've given it not muscle memory, you've given it iron memory or crease memory. So all of this will tuck down. You just got to give it a moment to find itself. Like we all do from time to time. That one doesn't want to do anything. What's happening there? Oh, I think that goes like that. Well, that's going to go like that now. So I'm going to press it from the front. I'm just going to let those little creases sit there nicely, and we'll just give it a flat down. Jean says hexagons are not soothing. Is that Jean? They can be. And they can also be a jolly nuisance as well. So I'll just take the papers out of these, and obviously all they've done is stuck here when I stuck them down on my fabrics. And of course, by just pressing, my papers are perfect. So, you know, horses for courses. It's when you come to put them onto your piece that that you need them to be absolutely gorgeous. So there are hexagons done. We're not quite at the stage of putting them on yet, but I will do that in just a second. We're going to come back to this piece. So, like I said to you before, you want to just finger press that fold. So you've got the 4 edges, because you've got the long piece folded in half. Okay, the long piece folded in half, and what I need is my pen, and I need a ruler, and guess what? I forgot my ruler. I'll use my 1/4 inch. So because this is obviously a pattern that needs to be bought as such, I'm going to do this not off camera, but you know what I mean. Just going to check the pattern for the measurements just to make sure I've got that right. Yeah, so I hope you're enjoying making them, you know, all the Making It Monday projects. I don't see many in the group, but then I'm just assuming that, you know, you're just enjoying being part of the group and enjoying the sort of the opportunity, if you like, to get the patterns, and so when you're ready to make them, they're there for you. I'd like to think that anyway. If there is at any time any patterns that you have a fancy for, you know, that you've got something in your head, you just let me know, because we will try our best to sort of emulate your design. Let's say we'll try and do that for you. So there is my piece marked. Now you'll see it more clearly in the pattern. The first thing you need to do is pop a pin in, because you want to stabilise all of your fabric layers. So that pin is going right through to the back. Okay, we've got this mark here and this mark here. And what you need to do is get your ruler. I'm going to do it so it's easier for me. Get your ruler, and there's the mark there. There's the mark there. And we're just going to draw a line from one to the other. This is your heat erasable pen, although to be honest, it doesn't really matter. Oh, it's a lovely, lovely, nice pen. I'm going to have to get... I was just thinking I don't need to buy any more for the moment. That looks really lush. Then what you need to do is to round this off, because we've got points really, haven't we? We've got a point there and we've got a point here. Now I have got my new ruler that I purchased, which I put in my Amazon shop, and it's come and it's green, which I thought was very interesting. But what you could do is use the curves on here to actually create the more softer edge that we need. So you can bring the curve up and literally you're just rounding that piece off. It's not much, but it makes a difference. And then again here, so we're putting it over to the side and we're just rounding that off. Oops, and then you just need to choose which, if you've got a ruler like this, you just need to choose which is the best curve that fits your project. And quite honestly, that's absolutely brilliant. You could do it by hand, but you know, if you've got a gadget, use it. So there we are. So now what we've got is a beautiful, I'm just going to get my other scissors. Oops, that's it. Pulled all my things over, and I'm going to cut through all 4 layers. Now obviously, depending on what fabric you're using will depend on whether that's easy for you to do or not. Okay, if you want to, obviously you can do 1 layer at a time, you know, 1 piece and then do the other piece. Because we've put the pin there, look, you can see it keeps all our layers neatly together, which is super. It just makes everything so much easier. And there we are. There's our cut. There's our waist. Obviously, you can use that for other things. You can make some nice hexagons on a darker background. That would look. It's a beautiful fabric, so don't waste it. I'm going to put it in my little bag, because that will go beautifully with all those blues in there. So there's our piece now, and you can see I'm still making sure that crease is creased. I only now want 1 piece, so let's take, if I can get hold of 1 piece, there we are. I'm taking 1 piece away, 1 whole piece away, yeah, and I'll put that to one side because we don't need that for the moment. And this is the piece that we just cut, okay. So, like I say, we've got that mark in there, and that gives us a centre crease. So if I was to open that up, look at that, it's beautiful. But what I really want to do is find my centre here. So fold this up, get the top and bottom edge to meet, and just give that a crease as well. And there we have our centre line, which is smashing. I'm sorry we're white on white here. I'm not sure it would make a huge amount of difference if I bring my pink mat in, but let's do that just so you've got a visual. There you go, that's perhaps a bit better. What we can do while we're here, we can just mark the top opening. Now there is a particular mark I've given you, a particular measurement, but just mark it so you've got an eyeball on it, and then we won't forget that's where we're stitching to. So now what we're going to do is put our hexagons on our piece. Now obviously what you want to do is just make sure that when you lay them out that they're visually pleasing. You also want to get them, let's put a flowery one in the middle, you also want to get them so they're lined up with this line here and this line here. So you can either put your point like that, yeah, or you can pop it like that, matters not. And so then what we're going to do is just hold that down and put a pin in, or you can use quilter's tape, which I don't have handy, and I'm using short pins so I'm not going to get my machine in the way. And if you wanted to, you could get a small piece of Bonder web, just a little rough piece, put it behind each one and actually iron them down, sort of glue them down. It depends, I don't know, how you want it to feel, maybe. So now what I'm going to do is I don't want that line to go quite as straight. So if you've got stripes, then put them sort of kind of not opposite, but not next to each other. I'll put that darker one up there. I might move that in a minute. Put the lighter one here and the flowery one there. Actually, I think that looks okay. I'm really happy with that. Yeah. Oh, who says this? Diana. I love making the Mim patterns, Lizzie, but due to other sewing projects, I'm behind at the mo. I'm not surprised. We've had a lot of projects recently. Have you seen the new one? The new one from today. I did a little video this morning, and this is Natsuko, and this is a hexagonal box, and it has my quilting clips in. You can see how that looks, or you can have it for jewellery if you wanted to. The perfect size for going away to take little bits and pieces with you. This isn't a Mim pattern, this is just a regular pattern that's in the shop, and I've blanket stitched all the way around in a gold thread, and this is a bean paste fabric, so it's been I don't know how to explain it. It's a bit like batik, where they have like a resist, but they use bean paste, literally bean paste, to get a resist, and then they dye the fabric, which is amazing. It's not very affordable, let's put it that way, but it's really nice. So yeah, so that is Natsuko. That is the new pattern that I launched today. So what we need to do is to make sure that when we pin these down, that they are as accurate as we can get them. Now obviously, as we stitch them, we can move them, we can butt them up to each other, we can make sure that there's no gaps. But if you really want to be totally and 100% sure, then I would use a little bit of glue. So you could use your sew line glue again, yeah, you could use that. Or you could use a little bit of Bonder web behind each one, or you could use some quilter's tape, anything like that to help you. Mainly what I do is to get this to match. So make sure that these points at the ends are sitting nicely on top of each other, and the rest kind of you can just ease in. If you've got a stiletto, I always use this stiletto, if you've got one, something like that, then you can push the fabrics around as you're stitching, as long as you don't get your hands in the way. That's why I use a stiletto. I use it all of the time. It's my bestest friend. So you'll see that I'm putting the pins right in the centre. I tell you what's a good pin for this, and that's applique pins. If you want something really special, I keep meaning to get myself some more, because they're so small you tend to sort of lose them. And applique pins are a really small, almost, you can almost say they're blunt looking because they're so small, and they would fit nicely in the centre, not getting involved with your stitching. So let's just get this one down. So again, just spend a bit of time on this. I'm not happy with how that's sitting, but when we get to it, I'm sure it'll be fine. So I'm really loving that. It's looking really pretty. So I'm going to take it to the machine. I'm going to sew each hexagon with a little straight stitch. So if we look at Lexi, because that gives you a really good example of the stitching going around each one. Now, I did say to you this morning about a pocket, okay? So if you want to make a pocket, what I suggest you do is get some lightweight interfacing and stitch your hexagons onto a lightweight interfacing. And I want you to complete it. So I want you to go around all the edges. I want you to make it look beautiful. So you've got a solid piece of, let's say, applique. And then when you come to stitch it down on your project on Heather, I want you to stitch to around here. I want you to stitch it down to around, from that point, let's say around to here, and then you'll end up with a pocket. And you could put potpourri in there, you could put lavender in there, whatever you want. If you need a moth repellent, you can pop that in there. Okay, it doesn't interfere with your clothing. So I would do exactly what you've done there. Put it onto an iron-on interfacing, iron it on as a whole, but stitch it so it's pretty and it looks finished. But when you come to then stitch it onto here, start here, attach it all the way around just like a piece of applique, but leave that top open, okay? And also that could be almost like a secret storage, couldn't it? You could put jewellery in there and nobody would ever know, which I think would be amazing. So let's take it to the sewing machine and let's get started. We're already at past. I don't know how long the stitching is going to take, everyone, because it's quite a lot of stitching. I should have changed my needle. It's as blunt as anything because I've been doing loads of stitching lately. So we'll see how we get on. Anyway, I'll just move you over. Pat says, oh, I love the pocket idea with potpourri. Absolutely. This is perfect for it. And now, hopefully, you've got a fairly decent view. I'm afraid my head might get in the way a little bit. I might move, let me just move that camera slightly. There we go. You'll see, I think you'll see enough. You don't need to see every single stitch. So the first thing we're going to do is stitch this middle one down. Okay, we're going to stitch that down. It's on a 2.4 stitch length, so I'll keep it at that. And I'm going to just start. Not going to attach any other, sorry about my head getting in the way. I'm not going to attach any of these others. They're all going to be stitched individually, okay? They're all going to be, whereas the stitching that I did, let me show you while you're there. The stitching that I did on the original one, you can see it's very decorative, yeah? So, but that does take a long time, so we're not going to be doing that. Otherwise, you'll be reaching for the cocoa. I'm going to move that pin out of the way. It's just not quite right. So we'll adjust these as we go along. So I'll try very hard to keep my hands and face out of the way. So all I'm doing is stitching. Oh wow, this is such a blunt needle. Stitching around my hexagon. I tell you how I know it's really, really blunt. It's because it's pushing the fabric into the needle plate. Oh my gosh. It'll do for tonight and then I'll change it. Gosh. Now I'm using my stiletto to make sure that my little edges stay under, because if they don't, you'll be in trouble. Okay, so let me try and keep my hands out of the way. I'm looking at the camera just to make sure that you can see. There we are. So let's go down again. So it takes a little while, like I say, but it's worth it because it looks so pretty. Really pretty. There we go, I'll keep my hand out of the way. Can you see it going down into the needle bed? I don't know if you can see that. So we'll move on to the next one. So this is where you really want to make sure that it's lined up. And what I would do, I'll just cut my threads as I go. What I would do is I would do this edge here. Can you see this edge here? Just to make sure that is lined up to the one that you've just stitched. And go around it that way. Let me take the pin out. So, and like I say, you'll see, if you have done the technique where you've glued and then you've pressed like crazy, these hexagons will be a lot better folded wise. They really will. It does make a huge difference. So again, coming down there, and I suppose it's about 1/16 of an inch maybe. You obviously want it to be less than 1/4 inch, which is what you turned over. So 1/16 is good, 1/8, and you can get away with an 1/8. And then we're coming back to where we started. And I'm just going to go one stitch along there because I reckon I missed a bit of that. Okay, so let's do the next one. I'm going to take the pins out because I think you might see a bit better. So again, just make sure that that centre one is lined up really well. Yeah, let me get my head out of the way. I just wanted you to see as much as you could see. Let me just get that lined up. There we go, happy with that. So, foot down. Oh my goodness. And I'm just making sure that when it comes up to this other end here, that it's sitting nicely. It wants to nest up to that middle one. The middle one is crucial. The middle one wants to be absolutely perfect. The rest of the sides will naturally go if that one's perfect. Oh my god. Can you see it's catching? I'm not going to change my needle. Let me just take my needle up and shift it. There we are. Gosh. That really is bad. Right, let's go back a bit. I was thinking about it this afternoon. I was doing some work and I thought, oh, I must change that needle. Of course I didn't. You can see it's catching. And also, because this is Egyptian cotton, I should really have a size 70 in here rather than the 80 that I've got. So, right, see if we can continue. I can see my radio wanting to start, and then just bring a point over. So where that point is on that hexagon, let me do it, and I'll get my finger out of the way. Bring that over so it meets the other point. There we go. And then come down that other side. Gosh. Yeah. So I'll take that pin out again. So we'll just make sure that first one is lined up beautifully. Put the foot down. So you can see it takes a little while, and if you use even a zigzag will take you a little bit longer than just this straight stitch. So be aware of that. Give yourself excuse me, plenty of time to complete the project. And then just work your way around. Not the best stitching I've ever done. I blame my needle. You can blame what you like, but oh dear. I love this fabric though, don't you? Do you go to the charity shops and try to find some nice shirtings? And I must admit, if you get some men's shirts, there's so much fabric in them. Really, lots and lots of fabric. I bought a linen shirt not so long ago, a man's linen shirt, and gosh, I got loads of fabric from it. So we've got 3 more to do, so you can tell it just takes a little while. So sorry my hands are in the way, but I need to get that first little corner just right. So there we go. Bring it round, so get that point to, oh, that point's way off there. I don't know why that is. Let's try and bring it along as best I can. And then just make sure that it's going to fit this side here. So this side has got to be right. Let me take that one off and just make sure that's sitting flat. So you can see what that looks like. Gorgeous fabric. Swivel it around. Because this is it's fine shirting, because it's very old shirting, and because it's the Egyptian cotton. You really, like I say, you do really need that lovely fine needle to be able to go through that. There's no wadding, there's no lining, there's no interfacing with this at all. So there's no kind of stability other than just the regular fabric. So it's got to work really hard with that needle. But you can see what I'm doing with my stiletto. I'm moving it so the sides are fitting nicely together. It's really lovely. so pretty. So now we're using this, it's a bit like a chambray really, so we're just fitting that up. Let me take this one out so you can see. There we go. So you just literally fit along that short edge there, because you know that one is right. So we're just making sure that one fits along that short edge, and then use your whatever little pointy tool you use. See, because this is a thicker fabric, a slightly thicker, the needle is sitting better in it. Can you see it's swiveling really nicely? It just shows what a difference it makes. So I'm just bringing that over a little bit. It's because it's really thin old shirting. You know what these boys are like? They wear their shirts until they're absolutely falling apart, aren't they? Well, I'm talking generally, not anybody in particular. Don't upset anybody. Oh dear me. There we are. And actually you could hand stitch this. That would be amazing if you hand stitched. So we're just one more to go. So let's pop that one down there. I've got a few ends to trim. So just make sure that those corners fit. That's the most important thing. Because if you've got that lined up, the rest of it will be lined up. So let's just fit that in there. Gorgeous. And because, like, can you see that that's just come untucked? So we'll just tuck that back in. And of course the stiletto allows me to do that, because my finger couldn't have got in there. It's too small a gap. So again, just do a couple of stitches and make sure it's going to meet on this other side here. That's the other thing, to make sure that we're going to meet up. So then swing it round. And it's a great way of using up scraps. I tell you what else this would look absolutely amazing in, and actually I looked in my stash and I didn't really have time to have a really good rummage, but if you've got an old Victorian tablecloth, you could fussy cut your hexagons and have a little embroidered flower in each one. That would look absolutely awesome. So a bit of dodgy stitching, but I just need to trim my ends. But you can see what that looks like. Just straight stitching, perfectly fine, perfectly fine. So we'll go on the overhead and we'll just neaten that all up. I've got an itchy hand. What does a left hand itch mean? I bet it means I'm going to give some money to somebody. You know what? Oh, it's not ready. It's not the tax man, is it? We're not having to pay taxes this month. Something. There we go. So I'll just give that a little press. And obviously you want to make sure that you don't, if you can, don't pucker your fabric. It would be easy to do, puckering it as you're stitching. But like I say, all those methods I talked to you about gluing it down, would be a good way of making sure you don't pucker your fabric. Oh, left for a payout. Left to give. Oh, I thought it was a... See, itchy. Right, let's give it a little press. It's not dilly-dally. And then at the same time, you can take that crease out. Just don't take your marks out that you made. Take that one out if you want to. But give it a nice press so it looks beautiful. Okay, that's nice. Always looks better for a press. And do press your things, please. I still see things that have never been near an iron. Okay, so now we need both pieces. What I want you to do is just finger press this piece over, not to the right side, just press this over to the wrong side, about 1/4 inch, nothing much, but just give it a finger press, just a little bit. You don't have to be exact with that, okay? The same with this is to the wrong side, so again just give it a finger press because that will help us in a little while. So what we're going to do now is right sides together, if I can concentrate on what I'm doing. Right sides together, and all we're going to do is stitch. Let me get it so you can see it properly. We're going to stitch from here, from this bottom corner, bottom left hand corner, up to our mark. Okay, open these pieces out, don't have them still finger pressed. Open it out, and we're going to stitch up to that first mark. So if I do that a little bit more clearly with my pen, okay, a little bit obvious, but you can see it. So from there up to here, stop, back stitch. Start here, down to here, stop and back stitch, which is that bottom corner here. Okay, so that's all we're going to do next. And so we've got it on our regular stitch. Now you could, if you've got an overlocker, this is where you could use your overlocker. Okay, I'm just going to neaten off with a zigzag. I'm not even going to trim it, I'm literally just going to zigzag it, which you can use an overlock stitch on your machine. You know, there's lots of things that you can do. I'm going to leave you to decide. You don't even have to neaten it if you don't want to. But it would be nice to do. So you're going round that first corner. I'll just make sure they're all lined up nicely. And if you do a wide zigzag, it will almost fold your fabric over. I'll show you when I've done this. So I'm just coming up to that first mark, and I'm just going to back stitch and cut my threads, hop across, foot down, little back stitch, and then whiz round the second bend. So all the way round, whee, all the way round. Lovely, nice bit of machining. It's not even on full speed. Back stitch and we're done. See, this is what happens if you haven't got a sharp needle, right? That's what will happen. So while we've got it this way round, we're going to fold these pieces over again at the top. If I can get my hand in there. Whoop. Fold these over, and you'll see in the pattern what that looks like. Fold it over, give yourself a little crease. Now, if you wanted to, you could zigzag across these little edges here. You could even fold them twice and then stitch. Give yourself a seam allowance of 3/8 of an inch if you're going to do that, so you don't have a raw edge. Personally, that I'm not bothered about it, okay, but you well may be. I'm not suggesting for a minute you're like me, but you want to make sure that you're doing something you're comfortable with. So you're either going to, don't ignore the side seams. So you're either going to zigzag across here and make it neat. You could even overlock it if you're careful, but it's very small. Or you can fold that over twice and then top stitch, okay? But all I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my piece and kind of flatten it out, and that little piece in the centre, I'm just going to fold that over so what looks like a buttonhole. I'm going to try and do it so you can see. Ideally you're going to iron it, okay? But that's what you're looking at. You can just about see that. And that's going to be top stitched, that little buttonhole if you like. And I'm top stitching the 2 layers together, so it makes a lovely neat opening. So that's what I'm doing now. And like I say, if you want to neaten that edge off, of course you can. If you're going to make these for craft fairs, you want them to be as neat as possible. So what I suggest you do is do a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and fold them over twice and then top stitch, okay? I think that's probably your best option. So I'm just folding over that second side. Oh, I wish I'd changed this needle. Coming up to the other side now. There we are. Can you see? I've got my little buttonhole there. You just about see it. I'm holding it with my finger, but just about see it. So coming down the other side to where I've stopped stitching, I'm just going to turn it around and kind of just go a couple of stitches across. Not much, not much. and then I'll show you what I've done. So literally I have top stitched that, can you see, to make that neat. And then on the right side, all you've got is for me, I've just got my threads to cut from thread cutter on the machine. So you can see it's quite a neat finish. So turn it back so you've got the raw edges showing again. So there's your raw edge. Now I'm not going to trim that in any way, shape or form. All I'm going to do is put this onto my zigzag, which gives, it's a stitch zigzag width of 3.6 and a length of 1.4. I probably will bring that length up to 2 and I'll see how I go with that. And because, yeah, a bit more. So 2.4, I think, perhaps 2.6. And because I am using very fine fabric and because it's a wide zigzag, what it's doing is taking it over. Can you see? It's taking it over. And it's quite a good way of neatening your edge. It's a little bit more than a zigzag perhaps would normally look. Like I say, I'm not trimming, but obviously you can trim. So we'll just whiz along. So you can take that seam down. When you come to this bit, which is what we've just done, go as far as you can, which is a good, you're going to get to about 1/8 of an inch of what you've just done. So it's a really good way of finishing off. So you can see what that looks like now. So that's the bit we top stitched, that's the bit we've just zigzagged. Can you see how neat that does it? It kind of locks all the fabrics together. It's super. But you know, if you're making these as gifts or for a craft fair, you might even want to bind the edges. I'm not sure how far you'd want to go. Well, I suppose it depends on how much you're going to charge. But if you're charging £10 for each one, which is definitely worth it, then maybe you want to finish it off in a different way. French seams or an overlocker. And even though I didn't neaten my seam, that has made a terrific job of my seam. Really neat, really neat. Okay, so the next stage, and I'll just come back to you for a minute because we've only got seven minutes left. I think we'll do it. The next stage is we're going to iron that hem. So let me get my little mat and I'll get my iron on. I do switch my iron off all the time. Do you? Do you keep your iron hot or do you switch it off? I'm very much a switcher offerer. So let's push that out. Obviously you can press this if you want to, make it really super neat. There's your little opening there, look, looks really neat. And then all we're going to do is we're going to press about 1/4 inch, probably 3/8, whatever you fancy. We're going to fold to the right side. Now, this is only if you're going to use a trim, a ribbon, a braid, lace, whatever you're going to use. If you're not going to use anything, you're going to then obviously fold it to the inside of your work. Do it a little almost like a rolled hem, fold it twice and then machine it on the right side. Oh, sorry, on the wrong side, so it looks nice and neat on the right side. But for the pattern, if we follow the pattern, what we're doing is we're pressing up about 1/4 inch all the way along on the long hem all the way round, and we're going to cover all of that with lace, okay? And this is what makes this so pretty, because that lace trim really sets it apart. And if you scour the antique shops and charity shops, more I think these days antique shops to be honest, you will find antique lace. Don't be afraid to use it. Please use it. And make yourself something beautiful like this, because truly it truly is beautiful. I love some of our all of our Making It Monday projects. I love them all because they're all different and they all do different things. They're all very useful. I think sometimes we're quite lucky, aren't we, that we have be able to do this. So I've gone all the way around and I've just brought that hem up to the front, and then all I'm going to do is get my lace. I've got more of this gorgeous lace from our Jackie, and I'm going to machine it probably twice. I mean, I could actually zigzag it, but what you want to do is to catch this. So you really want to do a seam down here, but also maybe you also want to do a seam up the top here to neaten that all off. So it's everything's covered and you can't see any raw edges as such. So let me just bring the machine in, and I'll bring you in so you can see. There we are. Jackie says, I tend to leave mine on as long as I remember to turn it off when I'm finished. Now, yes, now the thing is, that is the trick, isn't it, Jackie, is remembering. Now, of course, you could take the free arm off of your machine if you want to at this stage, but we won't bother. So I'm just starting with my lace sitting over the top there. Can you see? And I'm just going to start stitching, just going to go for it. I'm going to do the bottom row first. So I'm going to do the row nearest the fold. Oh, zigzag. Let's not do a zigzag. Let's do a straight stitch. There we go. And we'll take the stitch length up to 3. And then we'll just run along. So I've got, you can see now, I've got the hem sitting there like that. I'm just going to lay my lace over the top, my lace and ribbon, and I'm just going to catch the fold. So obviously you want to try and be a little bit straight on here, but this is where perhaps quilter's tape is your friend, because you can just glue all this down. So all the way round. There's a ribbon in this, so I'm just using the ribbon as my guide really. Might be a little bit wriggly. Yeah, my mum used to have the radio on when she was using her iron. I was going to say she never used it for anything but her artwork, but no, she did. She's very good. And so if she had a radio on, she knew that the iron was on as well. She had it on the same, extension socket kind of thing. So yeah, I think that was a good little trick. But I can't stand the noise of the radio. I really can't. So I have to have silence when I'm stitching. Just my own thoughts. Yeah. Everybody's different, aren't they? Sometimes I think, oh, I know, I'll put the TV on, and I can't even do that really. I like to hear the sound of the machine, and yeah, just my own thoughts really. It's lovely. So you can see how by putting this lace on, do you know, I'm not sure I'm going to have enough. Look, this is like ribbon roulette. Might have to stretch it a bit. Oh, I've just pleated my fabric. Oh no, I'm okay. Yes, oh yes, just enough, look, just enough. So what you want to try and do is just neaten that end off. Now all I will do is just trim it. I'll trim it here as well, so it needs a nice finish there. But I'll just overlap that. And just continue. And just to make sure that it sits correctly, I'm going to do another row of machining along the top here of the lace, and so that sits flush. Otherwise we've got this sort of bit here, and you're more than likely, to see the raw edge of the hem. So I would, I'm just going to nip across my train track, and then just go all the way around. So I'll go super fast now. I'm going to put it up to full speed. Loud, isn't it? I was trying not to go too fast then. Oh, Donna says, I generally put you on TV, Lizzie. Oh, thank you, Donna. I must admit, I'm always being told I've got quite a soothing voice. I'm not sure about that. As I'm getting older, my voice is getting deeper. Anyway, there is our heather made. Look at that, it needs a press. But because it's Egyptian cotton, it does crease a little bit. But look how lovely that lace looks. I've got to trim a little bit of thread there. But the great feature for me on this is doing those hexagons. I love hexagons. I don't often work with them. I just think they're very pleasing to the eye. But there is another beautiful heather. So if I take this one off, there we go. Ooh, come on, put you there. There's my top. Let's put it so it's the right way around for you guys. There we are. Hook there. So literally you've got the hole, so the hook goes neatly through. And of course now if you want to make these smaller, what I suggest you do is you use the width of your hanger, the hanger you want to use, as your guide to the width of your fabric. Okay, seriously, that's all you need to do. I'd keep the length here probably, unless you're covering a baby's outfit, in which case it might want to be just a little bit shallower. But so keep to the height measurement, but the width measurement is literally the width plus a little bit of your hanger that you're using. So so you can adapt these, can't you, to anything. So there we are. So there's our second one made, and just looks absolutely glorious. I hope you love her. I do. I just can't wait to put her in my wardrobe now. She's gorgeous. Don't forget about the pocket. I think that's a really good idea. Obviously, perhaps that's for another day. So there we are. Thank you ever so much for watching. Don't forget to go and get your new pattern. It's not a Making It Monday pattern. It's not a members pattern. It's just a pattern that I just wanted to create. It was going to be a Making It Monday project, but this hand stitching here is actually quite tough. So I'll just give you that word of warning. But do go and get your natsuko. I think it's just gorgeous. You can see, and the creases make all the difference, and the construction of it makes quite a difference to how it folds around the hexagons. So yeah, I'm really pleased with it. It's a lovely little make. So don't forget to go and download that. And so there we are. Next week you've got Kath, which is lovely. I can't wait to see what she's going to do for us. And until then, I shall see you on Thursday if you're a member. So if you're one of my members, and what that means is that you've got one of my platinum or gold subscriptions. And in Liz's Fabulous Sewing Group, on Thursday, I'm going to show you how to use this ruler, which is the new kid on the block. Not mine. Not mine. It's in my Amazon shop, and I'm going to show you all the different ways that you can use it. So that's going to be fun. So that's it, really. Me done. So thank you ever so much for tuning in. It's been an absolute treat. Good figures again. Lots of people watching, over 200, which is really lovely, because that means that you're supporting me and keeping me going, which is what it's all about. If it wasn't for you, I would not be here. Well, you know, I would be here, but I wouldn't be on Facebook. doing my thing. So there we are. So that's me done for this Monday. I just realised my necklace was all twisted. It moves, this necklace. It moves. My Adrian bought it for me. It's lovely, isn't it? Anyway, I shall see you all again soon. Have a lovely, lovely rest of your evening, and all my